House and Rehab on BBC Radio Derby. 17 minutes to midday. Good to have your company this gorgeous sunny Friday. Now then, let me take your attention for a second and take you to one of Derbyshire and East Staffordshire's best known historical landmarks, Tutbury Castle. And it seems its history and indeed legend has travelled far and wide, even across the Atlantic. Yes, the American author Joe Hestand has written a new novel, and it's based at the castle. In a moment, I'm going to be catching up with Jo live from her home in Missouri. But first, let's catch up with our reporter, Mark Ansell, who's at the, well, I was going to say home might be the wrong word, but former residence of Mary, Queen of Scots for us this morning. Must be pretty good atop that hill in the sunshine, Mark.
It's absolutely stunning here today. Sun-kissed, I'm having a drink. I'm really enjoying myself this afternoon, looking over the hills, the green hills of Derbyshire and East Staffordshire. And, well, apparently this place is haunted, but I haven't seen any ghosts yet. And I'm joined by Leslie Smith, who's the curator here at Tutbury Castle, because this place has inspired a published, well-known murder mystery writer from the States to pen a book called Swan Song, and she's got it in her hands here. Now, you actually met up with the author, Joe Heaston, 2 years ago when she visited, and was it your persuading that ended up her making a book about it?
I'd like to think so, but actually it was absolutely the other way around. Jo has a great love for English history, although very famous in the States for her series of murder mystery books. But she came here and sat with me on the sofa and was full of enthusiasm for what a gorgeous place it is, and said, you know, I think I'd like to set a murder mystery here. This was a couple of years ago, and that's what she's done. And it's a stunningly interesting book, and something that people of the area are going to love, not least of all because, of course, so much of the local area is mentioned in the book, and we know it, so of course that's part of the fun.
And of course, you know, the castle here dates back to William the Conqueror's time, 1070. Apparently, you were telling me that work was started here. So I guess for an American, that's the attraction, isn't it? The fact that there's so much history in a place like this.
Yes, I can remember making a television programme in the States, in California, and a curator saying to me, this house, ma'am, was built in 1888, but so was my grandmother, so that wasn't such a big deal. But the castle is an extraordinary place. Lots of people absolutely love it. In fact, everybody loves it who comes here. And so the idea of this murder mystery is fantastic, and it's rooted in our history. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but the castle was the equivalent of Woodstock in the medieval period. We had a massive music festival during the Feast of Lammas for the Virgin Mary, which is in August every year, lasting 2 weeks. And musicians poured into here, and kings and queens of this nation came to watch it. It was a huge event every year, and it lasted for hundreds and hundreds of years.
And you've got the book in your hands now, and it's called Swan Song, and it's got a guitar on the front. Is there a link then between the history of music at this place and the guitar?
Absolutely. It is a musical murder. And the Swan Song in itself is very tragic, actually, because it's said that a swan, just before it dies, sings one last time a particular type of note before it dies, and of course that's why it's got this title. I can't tell you any more, of course, because although I've read it, although I've loved it, I have to say you've got to get a copy yourself to find out what the fuss is about, and there's nothing worse than anybody telling you the ending when you're so enjoying a work like this.
And quite an honour, I guess, for you here that you've had this book written about the place.
Of course it is. We feel quite honoured as well that Her Majesty the Queen owns the castle, and Henry VIII's been here in the Black Prince. But at the same time, the idea of our brothers and sisters across the pond writing something and finding out more about English history, and not only that, the thrill of a murder mystery. What more could we ask for?
OK, Leslie, thanks very much for joining me this morning. Well, there you go, Alina. There's people raving about this book here, and, well, I must admit, coming here for the first time, it certainly inspired me. I don't know if it's quite inspired me to write a book. I don't think my writing's anywhere near good enough, but it's certainly a place where I want to go and explore, if you don't mind.
Yeah, too right. Absolutely gorgeous. Or a day for a picnic rug as well. I tell you, good old Mark enjoying the sights and surrounds of Tutbury Castle for us. Well, I tell you what, let's cross live to St. Louis, Missouri. I feel like I need to whisper because, well... We're being a bit of a pain, quite frankly, because we're getting Jo out of bed. It's really early morning, isn't it, Jo?
It's 5:47. Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Now then, tell me about how you happened across Tutbury Castle.
Well, I was actually staying at a B&B in Staffordshire. I was there to see the Abbotsbury. I'm sorry.
Oh, Bromley, the horn dance.
Yes, the horn dance.
Yes.
It's early. I can't think. And actually, the lady who owned the B&B suggested going to Tutbury that afternoon. So we went, and as Leslie said, a reenactment was going on when I visited, which gave me the idea to put something in the castle. And, of course, Leslie herself was so gracious talking to my sister and I about the castle, and that just made a huge difference, having that kind of enthusiasm and support.
So where has this love of English history been generated from then, Jo?
I would like to think that it's part of my genes. I have a small percentage of Welsh blood in me.
Right.
But actually, I'm just astounded with the history, especially late medieval through Jacobean. I love the architecture of, especially great houses, castles, villages. I love the folk music, especially. So I think it's just a combination of these things that I just like.
Tell me how you've interwoven Tutbury then, without revealing too much about this storylines you've been exploring.
I've had several scenes, probably about a third of the book maybe, at Tutbury. And there's a medieval reenactment fair going on. It's a minstrel's court, which Leslie suggested I use as the event. So that's going on in the book, and the all of the different scenes in the book, come up periodically through the book.
And how do you work as a writer? Are you very diligent and sit down and do your 9 till 5, or do you have to be feeling inspired? Do you have a special room outdoors you go to create? I'm at the computer usually around 7 each morning. Wow.
And I work until probably midday, because I feel like that's the only way to get something done, is to just sit down in the chair and write, good or bad. That's what a writer does.
You're very disciplined with it.
I have to be.
Have you always been a writer? Was that a dream? Because we'll have people listening who write and think, oh gosh, a publishing deal would just be incredible.
It took me a long time to. I've written since I was in junior high, which is in the early teens. Early teens. And I really didn't do anything about it, because life got in the way, jobs and all that. And I finally decided in my late 40s, this is ridiculous. I'm wasting my life. Really try something. So I wrote a couple books. They didn't go anywhere. I showed one of my manuscripts to a writer friend. I was very nervous because she wrote differently than I did. And she critiqued it, and she said, change one of the two male protagonists to a woman. Change the story. It was told in third person.
Right.
She said, change it to first person, tell it through the woman's point of view, and give her a sidekick that she could kind of confide in like a diary. And I did, and the first publisher I gave it to accepted it.
Oh, wow. Wow. And
it was mainly luck, I think.
Oh, come on. You're being so modest. Your reputation's spreading far and wide. It must be great to have the interest in the UK as well.
Yes, because that's my first love.
When are you coming back?
I'll be there in September for the book signing at the castle.
Oh, fantastic. Well, you have to see us, or we'll have to come and see you when you're back in the area.
I would love to.
Fantastic to have you with us, and I'm so sorry for disturbing you so early.
Oh, that's all right.
But as you say, you start writing at 7, so you've only got a couple of hours to kill.
That's right.
Thank you so much. Jo joining us live on the programme from her home in Missouri. That's Jo Heastand. Heastand is spelt Hiestand. If you want to get hold of some of her works, and as she says herself, coming over to see us in September.